welcome to the Transformational Podcast, a conversation between brothers about practical ways faith is impacting our lives. We invite you to join us on this journey as we are learning to let faith transform the way we live. We are glad you are with us today and look forward to sharing our journey with you. Now let's jump in. Welcome to the Transformational Podcast. We are so glad you're back with us. Last week, you didn't have the Marine from Maryland and the Pastor for Paradise. You do have us both today. Last week, we had the Dowdies on, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're glad you're joining us. We're glad to be back. We have some stuff that God's been showing us. We both are recording on a day where there is tons of snow and ice. And so, yes. Chris, you may have more ice than snow, but we're quickly catching up because our 3 to 6 inches of snow covered by 1 or 2 inches of sleet and now freezing rain for the next 6 hours should make the rest of the day pretty interesting. I'm not going to lie, but we're glad to be back. How about the Dowdies, man? 20 schemes, great, missionaries. Yeah. Pretty awesome. Getting ready to go to Glasgow to the schemes in the summer next year and spread God's word. The field is definitely ripe for harvesting. Yeah. And God's calling his workers, Dowdies being 2 of those workers. Yeah. Excited to get to chat with them.
Yeah, that was cool. It was cool to just hear their heart in it and just their clear call of God and just their faith to trust God in it. To go, right?
I know.
So and this isn't just a mission trip. This is like they're going.
We're going to go and we're going to live. That's right.
And I love it. So,
and it's fascinating because when we think of schemes and we think of Ireland or Scotland or even England or anything over on their side, we do have in our mind probably something that's pretty fancy, right? Because that's what we see in the posters and stuff. But they're going to actually the scheme, which is a very, very low income area. With folks who've got a lot of bad stuff going on, and they're going to live. That's where they're going to live. That's where they're going to interact. So very cool. Hope that God will use that episode to help them as they raise funds and prepare for their ministry there in Glasgow. That being said, Chris, man, what's up in your world? How much snow did you really get? Yeah, how fast is the sledding?
I mean, honestly, it's high enough that when we were sledding at the church, like we would just go straight over the curbs, and I mean it was awesome, dude. Best because here's the thing: it was actually more. It started with freezing rain, then sleet, then some snow, but then some more sleet. So like steady. Steady. Yeah. And then it's the freezing cold that has made it actually really good sledding
weather.
How cold
was it today there?
I woke up this morning, it was -5 degrees wind chill.
Wind chill? I was going to say real -5.
But like 13 degrees or 11 degrees, something crazy like that, dude. Yeah. It was
bitter.
Yeah, but man, you get wrapped up and you go out there. It was actually snowing again while we were sledding. So it was fun. It was just... you don't get a lot of those here in Texas. So we enjoyed it. But because it was so cold, like you don't sink into it. It's solid.
Yeah, you just go around
you get that sled on it and you just slide forever. It was a lot of fun. So
it's like that time. Do you remember that time we got the ice storm in Nacogdoches and we were riding I think it was a chicken pot down the hill.
Chicken pot?
Do you remember that? It was like one of those big, you put your turkey in there. And we were, you know what I'm talking about? We were sitting in that joker. And there was no snow. It was just ice.
I just remember us riding, but I don't remember. I just remember like we went down and we were like dangerously close to hitting cars.
I do remember
that were parked on the side of the road.
Yes, exactly. And I do remember one of us accidentally bailed out and that kitchen utensil or that kitchen pot straight up struck the side of a car.
Yeah.
But
we had good times back then.
We had
man. There was some decent sized hills in Nacogdoches.
Yeah, there are. So like scary, especially when it's icy.
It was good times, man, and it's been fun. Got a lot of videos. I sent some over to the family earlier, but if there's any other good ones, I'll send them. But it was fun, man. It was fun. We've had a fire. It's not going to get above freezing until north of freezing till Tuesday is what they're saying. So we might be.
I'll be around.
We might have a few more sledding opportunities. So we'll see. But what's the weather like up there, man? You said it's
still freezing rain.
Right?
I'm looking out, and it's definitely still freezing rain.
So I saw a great explanation from a police department on social media. The
Okay.
difference between freezing rain and sleet.
Go.
They said freezing rain is like a glazed donut.
Yeah, that's right.
Sleet is like a donut with sprinkles.
Something we can something we all
okay.
understand. Something
I
we can
like
all
how
understand.
they
Well,
leaned into
we
that.
had
It
a
was great.
donut with sprinkles earlier, and now we're in the donut with a glaze on. We went out
Okay.
and messed around in it for a minute or two. Joshua and I were throwing snowballs at each other, and he was all bundled up, and I managed to throw this snowball that missed his hood but caught the tip of his nose. Dude, I laughed and I laughed and I laughed because when it hit his nose, it literally exploded in his face.
Oh
It was a
gosh.
glancing blow, but it was enough that the nose just shredded the snowball
That's
in
awesome.
his face. And I mean, I only had like half an inch of nose to hit, so I felt pretty good, pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this week was interesting. I've been in Exodus. I always like reading through Exodus, Chris.
Do you think you're gonna make it out?
I'm confident. I'm
Okay,
confident
good,
I'm gonna
good.
make it out.
Yeah.
There's so many moments in Exodus that are interesting, or at least make me always kind of chuckle. It's the one right before they cross the Red Sea.
Yeah.
And Moses is talking to God. He's like, God, they're closing in on us. What do you want us to do? And mind you, there is a pillar of fire between the Israelites and the Egyptians. And so Moses has this moment where he's like, they're going to get us, but he can see the cloud and the fire. So I do wonder kind of like what was going on in that conversation as far as Moses go. But the best part of the conversation is when the Lord says, what are you doing? Like, go part the Red Sea.
Yeah.
That's sure. Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah, that's the thing.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's what I was
just go
supposed
do
to
that.
next. Yeah.
But anyway, we move on, and it gets out in the desert, and there's some stuff that happened. And one of the and it was real quick before I get there is it was interesting how so much of Exodus, when you read it and then you look at the way your day's going, think about manna, right? Think about manna for a minute.
Yeah.
Manna was just enough provision for the day.
Do you know what the word manna means?
I can't remember. Go.
What's
I did
this?
Look it up.
What's
this? Yeah. What's this? Yeah. But it was literally just enough sustenance for that day.
So if you're not familiar with this, what manna is in the Old Testament, when they're in the desert, Moses leading the people into the promised land, they're in the desert and they don't have enough to eat. So they're complaining, and God says, I've got you. And basically gives them manna, which was some kind of starch or carb of some sort that appeared
it was like
every day.
Coriander seed when I looked it up.
Well, the thing is that
they don't really know.
The day they went into the promised land, it never came back. It was literally just for a season. Isn't it interesting that God can always provide in any season, and sometimes it's just for that season, just what you need, which is what the whole point of manna is, that they were supposed to gather just enough for each day. If they gathered too much, it rotted, and it was not a good thing. So they were to gather just enough for the day. And then on the sixth day, they gathered what? Oh, no, I don't remember the sixth day, Robert. There's something about not gathering on the seventh day.
No, the sixth day you're supposed to gather twice as much.
Okay.
Because if you gathered more than for the day, it wouldn't last till tomorrow. Tomorrow would be filled with maggots. It'd be gross, and God saw it as a lack of trust in Himself. But He did say, "Hey, on the sixth day, I do want you to gather twice as much, because I don't want you to work on Sunday or not Sunday, seventh day, their Sabbath." And then you'll be provided for. What's fascinating, Chris? On that day, I was reading that. I had this like little thing of the day where I needed to take. It was something I needed to navigate. It was complex, and I was like, I was kind of like a little bit. I don't know. I wouldn't say worried about it, but I was thinking about it. I was like, God's going to provide what I need for today, and I'm thinking that's what it was. But anyway, the day got out of hand quickly, and it was like 10 times more complex than what it was when I started the day. And as I was reflecting the following morning, because that day was a hot chocolate mess, I was thinking about how the Lord, but I didn't even know what I needed for that day.
Yeah.
This is what's crazy. I didn't even know what I needed for that day. And if you look at manna, there were some who gathered a lot and some who gathered little, but everybody had what they needed for the day. And here's the thing. I went in thinking I would need like, I don't know, a little. God knew I needed a lot. And he made sure I had what I needed for the day. And so as I was reflecting the next morning, I was like, Lord, it's like you knew yesterday was coming and you 100% like prepared me, filled my heart, soul and mind, and had me, gave me just what I needed for that day. So anyway, I love Exodus because there's so much about Exodus that applies.
Yeah.
And then, can I tell you about what I read this morning, which I just thought was interesting?
Let's keep going.
Okay, so the Amalekites come and attack the Israelites. The Amalekites are the great grandson of Esau. They're kind of marauders. They go around. They don't live anywhere. They basically kill people for fun, and they take their stuff for sustenance. So they're just going around and they're doing what they love, which is not good stuff, right? And so Moses says to Joshua in verse 9, and this is for those who want to read along, it's Exodus 17, verse 9. Moses says to Joshua, choose some of our men and go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses and Aaron and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. And then it goes when Moses. I'll just read the whole thing and we'll talk about it.
Right,
when Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. Joshua overcame the Amalekites' army with a sword. And then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar called The Lord is My Banner, Jehovah Nissi. He said, because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation. Eventually, Saul is commissioned with going in and wiping them out. He doesn't. That's a different story. Here's what hit me, Chris. Up until this point, when you look at Moses and the staff of God, God's very specific to Moses on how he's supposed to like hold the staff of God. He's like, hey, raise it over the waters. And so he raises it over the waters split. He says, hey, they want water, right? So they're out in the desert, he needs water. He says, strike the rock and I'll give you water from the rock. So he strikes the rock. In this case, it doesn't seem like God gave him anything specific to do. Yeah. And so I kind of do wonder, and I know there's nothing to say one way or the other, but I just want to throw it out there, Chris. I just wonder if he made it harder than necessary. Like, could he have just stand there with like the rock? I mean, just the staff in front of him. Did he need to hold it up? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I do wonder. It made me wonder, is there anything I'm doing that God is blessing because my heart's in the right direction, but maybe I'm making it harder than it needs to be? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I throw that down, but it was something I read this morning. It makes me ask that question.
And we don't know. He may have done it because he felt the Lord tell it, and he just didn't record that when he recorded the story. But at the same time, what I love about it is either way, like you look back and God has said, hey, I'm going to use what's in your hands to do these things, right?
No, it's good.
You don't have to have something special. He took what Moses already had and said, no, I'm going to use what you have.
That's right.
As a part of your journey. And so I think that's
and
probably
Moses' heart was in the right way.
Yeah.
And so God was, because you're trying to bring me glory, you're trying to give me glory, I'm going to use what's in your hand, and I'm going to give you the victory.
Yeah. Now, the part I love about that story, Robert, is just the men who surrounded him and said, hey, have a seat on the rock and we'll hold your hands up. Like that they said, hey, we recognize by supporting you, like we're helping
Could you
the Lord's
imagine?
army. Yeah.
Could you imagine? Hey, Moses is like, my arms are tired. My arms are tired. I mean, you talk about the ultimate workout, right? You just got to keep your arms up all day long. Have you ever tried to do that? And
well, Robert, we used to have to run tires, and like when we got in trouble or was cutting up in football or baseball, we'd have to run tires where we'd have to hold a truck tire above our head and run either around the baseball field or run up and down the football field. And when they blew the whistle, we had to throw it. It was tough, man. And I'm just gonna say, sometimes I thought I was pretty funny. Apparently, the comedy only took me so far in sports because man, it earned me quite a few opportunities to strengthen my shoulders through running tires. But but that being said, like it's just one of those things. You think about it. He's holding his arms up, and they recognize, hey, like when his arms are up, the army's winning.
Yeah,
And
army's
it's the
winning. God's
idea
for
of
us.
them
We got the
saying,
advantage.
God, how do we support our leader? Now they didn't look and go, Moses, what are you doing with the staff, man? Like,
Yeah,
it would be easier if you didn't have this. It would be easier. Like they could have come in with different ideas, but instead of coming in with different ideas of how to do it differently, they came in and said, hey, we see God's using you and using what you're doing to cause the Israel army to win. And so what can we do? How can we help? How can we support you in what you're doing?
yeah. They
Now,
didn't criticize him. They
yeah,
weren't like, dude, why'd you pick that? Why are you doing that? What?
yeah,
Hey, couldn't we do this a little awesome? Hey, why
yeah,
don't you go over there and like lean against this thing? Why don't you
yeah,
lean against that thing? Or even like, hey, dude, shouldn't you do some more shoulders before you pick something like this? Right?
yeah, yeah,
Like, hey, haven't you been working out? Shouldn't you be doing that?
yeah,
And I do think it's funny. They didn't criticize. They actually went and got him a seat. They got him a seat and they said, hey, Moses, sit here. And not only that, they got involved, man.
yeah.
They got involved.
So I've got a group of guys that will text me on Saturdays. I love it.
That's awesome.
And that I didn't ask them to do this, but they text me on Saturdays and say, "Sit on a rock, Pastor. We're holding your arms up," which I love.
Dude, I got chills. I love
dude,
that.
isn't that
That's
great?
fantastic.
Like just this idea of going, hey, we want to support you and we want to encourage you. And I love it because, man, it's easy. Look, your pastor is not perfect. And if your pastor is the pastor at Grace
Chris,
Fellowship,
I thought you were
I
perfect.
know
I've
that.
known you a long time. I was certain.
Yeah. Listen, I think people love listening to this podcast because they get to hear the behind the scenes from my brother. But that being said, like they're not perfect, but they're called, right? And I think that's the part of going it like, and I tell people when they step into ministry, like this is not a career, it's a calling. Don't do this if you're coming into ministry to as a career, you see it as a career, you're not in it for the right reason, and it's not going to work. But if you understand it's a calling, in other words, could I do something else? Yes, I could, but I would not be very satisfied.
No.
Because this is what I'm called to do. The
Lord told you what to do.
And this is what I want you to do. And so this is what I do, and I'm called to do it, but it doesn't mean I'm not human. I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm going to have moments of where I struggle, and I have people around me that know me very well, and I'm asking them to hold me accountable. I have an executive team. They know who I really am. They know my ups and my downs. I've got a best friend who's on my board, who his wife is best friends with my wife. So he's got another insight, right?
Yeah, he's got the insight.
So that being said, I think it's good to have accountability, but beyond that, I think what's really good is when you understand, man, how can we support our pastor? How do we encourage him? Because there is a battle going on and his arms are getting tired. Yeah, and we need his arms to be up. We need him to do what he's been called to do and to be in the place that God's called him to be.
Yeah, it's not a criticism to tell him to get stronger or to do it, whatever differently. It's more of a coming alongside and saying, hey, how can we walk with you on this? How can we support you? How can we make you successful? Because here's the thing, Chris, it really wasn't just that they were supporting Moses. I mean, if you really think about it, it wasn't that they were supporting Moses. It was that they were supporting Joshua and the people of Israel in battle. I mean, that was the focus. I always tell people in the program office, one of the things that gets me up in the morning, and it's the reason why I feel called to do what I'm doing right now. And I think the Lord, just, he works through me because he wants a light in that environment. But I tell folks, like, I come into work because there's some, sailor, airman, or Marine who 100% counts on us to do our part so that they can do their part. They count on us to provide the capability so that they can provide the protection. And in this case, you have Moses, his part, his role in this is to hold the staff up, the staff of God, so that they can so that Joshua and the men of Israel can gain victory over the Amalekites. But you have Aaron and Hur who came up and said, hey, take a seat, Pastor. Let me hold up your hands. You're looking tired. So let's do this together. Let's do this as a, core to
Yeah.
three, so to
Yep.
say.
Yep.
I love the visual there.
So, so that being said, here's a couple. Just as I think about this, in the New Testament, there's several
Yeah, let's look at it.
encouragements on how to, or really commands or instructions on how to encourage your leaders. And so I read this, and this is not self-seeking. I want this for all my pastor friends. I want this for all the churches in the area. I'm good friends with pastors in this area, and so
And it's leaders, not just pastors, right? I mean, it's how do
yes.
we encourage our leaders? How do we encourage pastors? Godly leaders, godly pastors, people
Yes.
who are doing what God has called them to do.
So I'm going to jump just a couple of passages. One
Let's
is
do
in
it.
Hebrews 13, verse 17. It says, obey your spiritual leaders and do what they say. Their work is to watch over your souls, and they are accountable to God. Give them, I love this, give them reason to do this with joy and not with sorrow. That would certainly not be for your benefit.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to the next one in just a second, but I just want to start here. Just it talks about obey your spiritual leaders and do what they say. Like part of this is understanding that I know that for some there might be some hesitancy there because some leaders have abused that. So I'm going to just acknowledge that up front and be like, I recognize that that's been abused and that's been,
big
but
time.
that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You still have to do something with that scripture. Right. So when leaders are submitted to the Lord and honoring the Lord, and it doesn't violate the character of the Lord, then you can listen to and obey the instructions of a spiritual leader. And hopefully when you do what they say, what they're doing is they're actually helping you apply God's truth to your life.
Yeah.
It's not as much about what they say as it is about what does God's word say and how are they connecting God's truth to the way I live. This is one of the things we talk about at Grace is that like we really try not to preach just for information. We try to preach for transformation, which requires application, right? If you're not applying God's truth to your life, James tells us you're only fooling yourself. To hear God's words, not do what it says, you're only fooling yourselves. And when you think about what does he mean by you're only fooling yourselves? You're puffing yourself up with information, causing yourself to believe that you're better than you really are. Because if you're not applying it, it's not transforming you.
That's true.
It's not sanctifying you. And so really this idea of obey your spiritual leaders, it should be along the lines of, man, they are helping you understand God's truth and how to apply it to your lives.
I do like the NIV version of this.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that out because I think it hits exactly what you're talking about. Verse 17 in the NIV says, have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account. Do this so that their work will be a joy, not a burden, for that would be of no benefit to you. It's have confidence in your leaders. So it's that idea, Chris, you talked about the fact that it has been abused in several situations. Totally agree. It's not the way it is everywhere. And I would offer that a lot of times, because it's still humans running the church. So you're not, no one's going to be perfect. Chris, you're not perfect. We just talked about that, but it's having confidence in your leaders that they're taking you and taking the church in the direction that God's called them to do that. Because, and this is most important part about this verse in my mind, is because they have to give an account. Like that's right. They are held to account by the Lord. So if you don't like what they're doing and you don't think it's what God's called them to do in the whole 9 yards, and it isn't, frankly, rest assured they will be held to account.
That's right.
But they're the ones held to account, not you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the greater statement in this to me personally.
Yeah.
Their work is to watch over your souls, is the way it says in NLT.
Another good
they're
one.
accountable to God. Their work, their responsibility. That's what I see is that my responsibility is to care for the sheep that God has given to his church and in this flock, in this house, right? And so he's going to hold me accountable for how I did just that.
So your role is to seek the Lord and what does God want me to do? Kind of like Moses. I think that's the thing about Moses that also got me is, I do joke around about the fact, what if he made it harder than it needed to be because he had to hold the staff? We really don't know. Don't know. But here's what's fascinating is that Moses went with that method, and because he was trying to bring honor and glory to the Lord and to the Lord and Lord alone, not himself. Like he's as a complete, like out of the picture. This is all about God, and God has given us the victory. I think God was like, I'm going to bless what you got in your hand because it does bring me glory in the victory. And I think that's where that having confidence in your leaders, have confidence in the fact that they are seeking God. They are trying to go after him, submit to their authority on what they're trying to do there in the church, because they're being held to account for that.
Yeah.
And frankly, I love this part of it. It's so that their work will be done with joy, not a burden. You know how hard it is, Chris, when people aren't, you're the leader and you're trying to lead folks. I don't know if it's the same in the church. Probably it is, but I can tell you from somebody who leads frequently over the last 20 plus years, not so much right now, but there's been times in my past where I'm trying to lead because I know it's the right way to go and the whole 9 yards, and I'm doing all the leader things. And, you have one or two people who are just not supporting you. They're not Aaron and her. They're literally like, kind of like whacking you they like take the stick and they whack you with it. Right.
Yeah.
That is not, there's no joy in that, man.
No,
that is a burden. It is a burden to go to work. And so don't make your leaders. That's one way, I guess, to support your leaders.
Make it
right?
A joy.
Make it a joy, right?
Get rid of stop all the gossip. Like, gossip literally never leads to anything good. That needs to go on a T-shirt. It doesn't. Gossip never leads to good.
But
period.
Chris, I got
Period.
I got a prayer request, but I need to give you the background.
Let's stop. And it's just one of those deals of, well, I don't really listen. If you find yourself as the person that people always want to share something with, it probably is an indication that you are a receiver of gossip. You are a good receiver of gossip. If you start telling people, hey, I'm really not, if this is gossip, I don't really want to hear it because, man, I just don't see how that's going to go. Or, hey, this really sounds like gossip. So, and I don't really want to be a part of that.
How does talking about this help anybody?
Yeah, it literally will. Maybe they'll go to someone else, but you'll stop it in your circle, right? And but if you are the conduit of gossip, people are always bringing it to you. Then guess what? It probably says something that you're welcoming it. So stop it.
So
the other deal is like, if you have something going on with someone else, go to that person.
That's right.
Forgive, lead with grace and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, hey, so what's another way? You said you had a couple ways.
Okay, another verse. Yeah, another verse.
Catch it.
Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. I want to go to the next one.
It's over in 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 12 says,
Thessalonians.
Dear brothers and sisters.
I'm not there yet. 1 Thessalonians 5.
Yeah.
I'm slow. All right, go ahead.
Turn left. All right. Dear brothers and sisters, honor those who are your leaders in the Lord's work. They work hard among you and give you spiritual guidance. Show them great respect and wholehearted love because of their work, and live peacefully with each other. There it is again. Do you see the theme?
I do.
Like,
can I tell you a story on that one though? It just made me laugh. I was reading the same day I was reading about the Amalekites. It's the story of when Jethro, Moses' brother. This is why I love the Old Testament and reading through that stuff. So if you're not a fan of reading through the Bible in a year, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't be. Jethro comes in from the field, or not from the field. Jethro comes and visits from his land and whatever, brings his wife and his sons who he'd sent off earlier. And Moses kind of tells him what he does all day. Jethro's like, wait a second, you sit around and you essentially play judge / problem solver for everybody in Israel, all like 1 million people. That's what you do all day long. You solve problems. He's like, that's not good. You need to break it down. Here's what
he says. That's not good leadership, man. You're going to ruin it.
Here's what I found fascinating is that he had to do that. Like, that's what was going on. When you have people, you have that stuff going on, right? There still is leadership and there's still the problem solving, but it doesn't need to go all the way to the top. You need to get it solved at the lowest level. And when you see what Jethro recommends and what he puts in place, is it's problem solving at the lowest level. Hey, you guys figure that out. It doesn't need to go anywhere else. You guys do it together. The Bible has some very specific things on that one, on like how to like talk to a brother. Can't do that, and kind of an escalation. But anyway, sorry, Chris. I just thought about it. It was like,
well, no, it's great.
So applicable.
It makes me think of what Jesus said about peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God, right?
Indeed.
And it's characteristics. Like, godly people should be known as peacemakers, that they're the ones who squash the side conversations. They're the ones who stamp out division and dissension. They speak up and go, man, I don't think this is right. This is not godly. You don't have to have the answers. You can just say, hey, we don't need to be talking about this. And so
Absolutely.
stamp it out and promote peace. As far as it depends on you, be at peace with all people. Be a peacemaker, not a peace faker. All right.
Yeah,
Peace
well,
fakers just ignore it.
yeah.
Peacemakers are the ones who say, man, we can't ignore when there's active division or active dissension or active, something going on, gossip. Well, peacemakers are the ones who step in and go, no, this doesn't lead to good. Let's stop and let's make sure we honor God with our conversations.
I mean, that's what Paul kind of goes on to say in verse 14 there. He says, warn those who are idle and disruptive. In other words, they step in and put into, hey, stop doing that. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And it says, encourage the disheartened, help the weak, be patient. Love that. Be patient with everyone. Make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always strive to do what's good for each other and for everyone else. It's to your point, Chris, is blessed are the peacemakers. These are the peacemakers. They don't just idly sit by and don't do anything, but they do stop and say, hey, let's live in peace. Let's look for ways to do good. Is that beneficial? Is that helpful? Is that going to lift them up? All right, well, let's not do that. Let's do something different.
Yep. And so here's what you can do. Here's very practical. One other practical thing. Obviously, peacemakers one of them. But if you go back to Hebrews 13, the very next 13, verse 18, right after 17, we just read that a minute ago.
Yeah.
It says, pray for us, for our conscience is clear, and we want to live honorably in everything we do. Yeah. And then 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 25. Dear brothers and sisters, pray for us. I just love it because you can go several different places. Ephesians 6, verse 18, and pray. Actually, that's 19. And pray for me too. Ask God to give me the right words so I can boldly explain God's mysterious plan, that the good news is for the Jews and the Gentiles alike. I love it because he's going, and here's one of the greatest ways you can support your leader.
That's right.
This is the greatest way to hold your leader's hands up. And this is essentially what these men who text me on Saturday night
what they're saying.
are doing. They're saying, hey, we're praying for you. We want to hold your hands up spiritually, knowing, because here's the thing, man, Saturday night typically can almost always be some of the most difficult sleep. And I get up pretty early on Sunday morning to get ready and do all my stuff because our first service is at 8, and I still spend time with God beforehand, go over my message. There's like a little rhythm to it all, but that means I'm getting up at about 4:30, and so if I get bad sleep on Saturday night, and so one of the guys who had talked about this, he's one of my spiritual prayer warriors. Spiritual prayer warriors. He's one of my prayer warriors.
I know what you meant. I know
pastoral
what you
prayer
meant.
warriors.
We all knew. We knew.
And he heard me say that once, and he just realized, hey, then let's do something about it. Let's get a group of men who hold his hands up on Saturday night.
Action. Hey, let me get you a stone to sit on there, Chris. Let's hold your hands up.
Yeah. So I love it, and I'm grateful for it. So really, the question is, what does it look like to hold the hands up of your leader? Because here's the thing that happened when they held up his hands. The mission of God went forward. It helped the kingdom win.
It did.
It helped the Israelites win. It helped the battle, the Israelites advance in battle. And so, it's I believe there's a principle there of understanding, man, when we support the leader, we're supporting God's mission.
Absolutely. No, it's interesting. Did you have anything else before we close? I only have one other thing that I just noticed while we were reading on the air.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So in verse 14 in Exodus, I think this is interesting. And it's again, Exodus 17:14. They want your hot take. And I didn't, this is definitely a hot take. It says, the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven.
Yeah.
Now here's what I think. Here's my hot take. I just want to give him a hot take for a second.
Explain who Joshua is.
So Joshua was essentially Moses's right-hand man, essentially went everywhere with him. Chris even went up on Mount Sinai with Moses. So when God said to the leaders of Israel, the 70 leaders of Israel and Aaron, because so God comes down on Mount Sinai and the people are absolutely terrified because God comes down in fire. The earth shakes. It is God's basically and Moses even says it. He says, hey, God came to you this way to make sure that you knew to obey him. Like he's real and he's He's a powerful God. So anyway, he brings 70 leaders up. He brings Aaron up, who was a priest at the time, and they have a meal together. Those are the only people that get to come up. But one of the things that's a fascinating thing is he's like, okay, Moses, those folks can't come up with you, but I want you to come up. And then in the next verse, it says, so Moses and Joshua ascended up.
Yeah.
And so Joshua is essentially Moses' apprentice. Now, we learn later on in time that Moses, he is literally the apprentice. Joshua takes the people into the promised land, and that's what it goes. I find it interesting here. I think, the reason why Joshua, he wanted him to write it and then make sure Joshua heard it. This is the one and only time that Joshua is not with him.
That's right. He's in the battle.
That's right. When God's working.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. He wanted Joshua to know that, hey, here's what God was doing.
Yeah,
you were down there fighting, but here's what God was doing. You didn't know what was
going on.
Yeah.
You had no idea.
Yeah.
Right? How many times is it like for us, right? We have no idea what God's doing. We have no idea what God's doing for us, going before us, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then you have someone come in and say, kind of like you're talking about, hey, praying for you, or hey, I had this moment yesterday where I thought you needed prayer, and so I just prayed for you. And that's God going before you, and
that's right,
without you even knowing it.
Yep.
Anyway, dude, I just thought it was interesting. I was
that's
like,
good.
I never saw that before. Hey, so if you are wrapping this up, I will do my part. You'll do your part. Maybe you can have something pastory.
Well, but, before we do that, I just want to point out my cool hoodie today.
Oh, your hoodie?
National Trailers Supply. That's my good buddy.
All right.
Hooked me up with this, and
NTS?
He listens to the podcast.
You have to stand up a little bit. I can't see it. I can't see it.
National Trailer Supply. There we go.
I like it. I like it.
Anyway, Brandon hooked us up. And hooked me up, and I love it. So just thought I'd point it out.
Well, I'm glad that Brandon listens. Well, first of all, I'm glad that Brandon listens, and frankly, we're glad that everybody listens. We're glad that folks are engaging. Our heart is that you don't just listen for information, like Chris was talking about, is that you use that application so that you can have the transformation. Yeah, Chris, I was listening. And that I took one little part of the Bible that I was reading this morning, and I was like, okay, Lord, this is really neat. What do you want me to know? What do you want me to do? And some of the things that I took away from this is, let's like walk with the Lord. Like, hey, God, what do you think? How do you think I should approach this when I'm doing my leadership things? And then B, how can I help essentially lift up the people who lead me? How can I support them? What can I do to be the Aaron and Hur that hold the hands up of Moses?
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be your application piece. Ask yourself that question, and then go to the leaders that you support and find better ways to support them. Not necessarily give them advice on how they should have done it different. And then over to you, Chris, to bring us home.
Well, when you hold the hands up of your leader, you're helping move the kingdom of God forward. So keep holding up their hands.
Amen.
Thank you for taking time to join us today. Our prayer is that you are encouraged in your own journey as you let faith transform the way you live. If you enjoyed hanging with us today, let us know by leaving us a 5-star review and sharing our podcast with others. We look forward to discussing what God is doing in our lives in our next episode.